kuingia chungwa mpaka ifike huko State House.
We have shown what strong political parties should be as institutions.
Nawaomba viongozi msiingize maneno kwa mdomo ya mtu ambaye amelala.
It's possible some individuals have taken their personal opinions to be the opinions of the party.
On its 20th year, just as the party was setting the stage for its 20th anniversary celebrations in Mombasa, its founding party leader transitioned to the afterlife. This left the party in the hands of his elder brother, Oburu Oginga. But Raila Odinga had built the party on strong foundations: respect for human rights, democracy, and above all, social justice.
But we can be proud that ODM has increased the democratic space by the fact that we have shown what strong political parties should be as institutions.
It's a movement. Even if you talk to anybody, even those who belong to other parties, when there is hell, they say, ODM, in any party, ODM should be here to fight for this thing.
Before the death of Raila Amolo Odinga on October 15th, 2025, in a hospital in Kerala, India, his ailment had caused the party celebrations to be postponed by a month, from an initial date of mid-October to mid-November. At 80 years old, the man who had breathed life into the Orange Democratic Movement collapsed during a morning walk, succumbing to cardiac arrest, leaving behind a political legacy that had shaped Kenya's democratic journey for 2 decades. His homecoming was nothing short of extraordinary. Thousands broke through barriers at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, forcing authorities to suspend flights and close Kenya's airspace for hours. His state funeral left several people dead in stampedes and police confrontations, a tragic testament to the magnetic hold he had over millions of Kenyans. Today, as ODM celebrates 2 decades of existence, the party finds itself at a crossroads, grappling with an identity crisis that threatens to tear apart the very fabric of what Raila built.
Alhamdulillah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
A meeting arranged for the National Executive Committee on October 17th, 2025, installed Senator Oburu Oginga as acting party leader.
That we endorse Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga as the new acting party leader and urge the party rank and file to accord him all the necessary support and cooperation to enable him guide the party through this difficult time.
And his confirmation, together with other party officials, was done in Mombasa.
ODM. ODM. ODM.
A National Governing Council meeting a day before the 20th anniversary celebrations began. But still, there exist deep fissures within the movement.
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga alizungumza wazi mbele ya nchi nzima tarehe 22 mwezi uliopita mbele ya hawa wabunge katika hoteli ya Agile pale Nairobi. Baba aliongea kwa kinywa chake mwenyewe. Na waomba viongozi msiingize maneno kwa mdomo ya mtu ambaye amelala.
We shall remain united to be able to go the way Baba wanted us to go, to remain in the broad-based government.
Mwaka 2027, we will not be in the opposition. Mambo mawili yatafanyika. Agosti tunapiga kura. September, we are either in government or we are government.
I remember him speaking at the burial of the late Dr. Phoebe Asio, And he said he made a clear decision to work with you for the stability and unity of the nation inside the broad-based government. That is the last standing instruction that Baba gave us. And as a people and as a party, that is where we will stand.
History is compelling ODM to meet as a house at the coast, but their hearts are divided. Their minds too are divided on where and how the party should go.
To support agro-processing and value.
Party chairperson Gladys Wanga insists that Raila's final wish was for ODM to remain in President William Ruto's broad-based government until 2027. Yet ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna has vowed to uphold Odinga's legacy by ensuring the party contests the 2027 elections independently, warning against what he calls divisive narratives.
It's possible some individuals have taken their personal opinions to be the opinions of the party. And that also creates another point of divergence that is an existential threat to the party. That it's important for individuals and leaders within ODM to separate their individualistic emotive standings and opinions from the standing of the party. Because the party is an institution, the individual leaders are not institutions in themselves. So when there is a clash between personal opinion and the standing of the party, that clash itself threatens the standing of the party.
The broad-based government itself formalized through a memorandum of understanding signed on March 6, 2025, between Ruto's United Democratic Alliance and Odinga's ODM was born out of political necessity. After massive youth-led protests in 2024 killed at least 60 people and plunged Ruto's government into crisis, the president turned to his once bitter rival for survival. 5 ODM members now sit in Ruto's cabinet, and the party leadership has publicly committed to staying the course. But this alliance with their former tormentor has left many party faithful questioning whether ODM has betrayed its opposition roots or evolved into a pragmatic political force.
Stakeholders in the Kenyan society to address this long.
Behind closed doors, a fierce succession battle is already brewing. Names like John Badi, Anyang' Nyong'o, Babu Owino and Opiyo Wandayi circulate as potential heirs to Raila's throne, each drawing support from different factions within the movement. Political analysts warn that if not carefully managed, these internal wrangles could fracture ODM, potentially ending its run as a major political force in Kenya.
While some have attributed this to the democratic spirit within the party, as it's contained in its own name, Orange Democratic Movement, it also demonstrates that ODM, as it's written in scripture, potentially is a house divided on ideological differences. So it means that there are different ideological strands within ODM.
To understand where ODM is today, we must make journey back to November 21st, 2005, a day that would change Kenya's political landscape forever. The constitutional referendum that pitted President Mwai Kibaki against his roads minister Raila Odinga was more than a vote on a proposed constitution. It was a referendum on power itself. The ballot was simple. A banana represented yes, an orange represented no. Raila's camp, opposing Kibaki's constitution, rallied behind the orange.
The drive to the referendum commenced. The agitation and the stirring of the political waters. Individuals that were bitter with the manner in which the MOU between Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki had been reneged on, opposed the draft constitution, not because they had examined issues and were against the proposals, but they wanted to make a political point that the supremacy and even the power that drove Mwai Kibaki to office is still powerful and can threaten his presidency. And that was the wing that was headed or led by Raila Odinga.
Their coalition included unlikely allies: Uhuru Kenyatta's KANU, William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka, and a constellation of politicians united by their opposition to Kibaki's leadership. When the results came in, 58.12% of Kenyans had voted no, handing Raila's orange camp a stunning victory. Kibaki's response was swift and brutal.
Fellow Kenyans, following the results of the referendum, it has become necessary for me, as the President of the Republic, to reorganize my government to make it more cohesive and better able to serve the people of Kenya.
He fired all pro-no cabinet ministers and senior government officials. Raila, Kalonzo, Najib Balala, Anyang' Nyong'o, and others found themselves suddenly out in the cold.
A reconstituted government will be in place within 2 weeks.
But as the Orange leaders celebrated their referendum victory, lawyer Mugambi Manyara saw an opportunity, quickly registering ODM as a political outfit, forcing Raila's camp to settle for a different party, ODM Kenya. In ODM Kenya, alongside Raila were other political heavyweights: Kalonzo Musyoka, William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Najib Balala, and Joseph Nyaga.
The formation of ODM was opportunistic of that moment because there was no logical determination to form a political party before the euphoric moment of the referendum outcome.
Inside ODM Kenya was great unease, especially fueled by struggles over the 2007 presidential ticket. By August 2007, the party would tear apart when Kalonzo Musyoka, through his lieutenant, current Makueni Senator Dan Maanzo, claimed ownership and ran away with the party certificate, leaving Raila stranded just months before the general election. Desperate but determined, Raila turned to Imanyara in marathon negotiations, appealing to their shared democratic values until the lawyer agreed to surrender the original ODM, transforming a grassroots referendum movement into a formidable opposition party that inherited the momentum, the symbol, and the mandate of millions of Kenyans who had rejected Kibaki's vision. The party's founding principles were clear: respect for human rights, social justice, genuine devolution of power, and an end to the culture of impunity that had plagued Kenyan politics for decades.
We are clear. You know, you can never speak about issues with conviction if you're not clear on what you're talking about. So we have been consistently clear on our position on various issues. For example, if we have human rights issues on the table, we know our side. We know where our side is. If we have issues of the poor and vulnerable people on the table, as a social justice movement, we know our position. In fact, you don't need to be whipped. You just wake up from your house, and if there is a bill on the table, whether to compensate victims or not, you know where you stand on that on that matter. So I think that has helped our leaders a lot.
The party positioned itself as a vehicle for transformative change, promising to deliver a new constitution and a new Kenya. The 2007 general election was to be ODM's moment of triumph. Raila Odinga led a formidable coalition into a battle against President Mwai Kibaki's Party of National Unity.
Nataka kusema kwamba tumeanza safari kutoka hapa sasa. Tunaelekea Mto Nile, leo imetoka Jinja. Tunaelekea wapi? Tunaelekea wapi? Hata Bwana Kibaki afanye nini? Alete watu yake. Afanye nini? Ajaribu kuiba. Haibiki, itafika.
Early results showed ODM sweeping across the country, but when the Electoral Commission of Kenya declared Kibaki the winner in a chaotic announcement at night, ODM cried foul.
We are announcing what we received.
What we are requesting, Mr. Chairman, is
you know we don't need to announce to you. We can announce to KBC. And those will be results.
That is why we are saying,
yes. I'm saying we will look into them when we get them. But let us read what we have. What we have. Because that's what we received. That's why we are here.
What followed was Kenya's darkest political hour since independence.
Kura ya mwananchi. Tunawatoa wote, hatulali. Hatutaki ulinzi wa serikali. Ulinzi ni mimi, manake mimi ni mwananchi nayopiga kura na ninayepata tabu.
For nearly 3 months, the country burned. More than 1,300 Kenyans were killed. Between 300,000 and 500,000 people were displaced from their homes. The violence took on ethnic dimensions. Kikuyus were targeted in opposition strongholds, triggering retaliatory attacks. In Kisumu and Nyanza, ODM's main base, armed police shot protesters at rallies. In Nairobi's slums, running battles between ODM supporters and police forces loyal to Kibaki became daily occurrences. In Nakuru, in Mathare, in villages across the Rift Valley, Kenya bled. International pressure mounted as the world watched Kenya, long considered East Africa's beacon of stability, descend into chaos. Former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan arrived to mediate, leading a panel of eminent persons in marathon negotiations between Kibaki's PNU and Raila's ODM. On February 28, 2008, after 41 days and nights of intense negotiations, a deal was struck. Kenya would have a grand coalition government. Kibaki would remain president, but Raila would become prime minister, a position specially created to end the bloodshed.
You will see that the government and Party of National Unity and the Orange Democratic Movement agreed to a formula that includes the following key items. There will be a post of Prime Minister of the Government of Kenya with authority to coordinate and supervise the execution of the functions and affairs of the Government of Kenya. The Prime Minister will be an elected member of Parliament and the parliamentary leader of the largest party in the National Assembly, or of a coalition if the largest party does not command a majority.
ODM would control half the cabinet.
Each member of the coalition shall nominate one person from the National Assembly to be appointed a Deputy Prime Minister. The cabinet will consist of a President, Vice President, Prime Minister, 2 Deputy Prime Ministers, and other ministers. The removal of a minister of the coalition will be subject to consultation and concurrence in writing by the leaders. The Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Ministers can only be removed if the National Assembly passes a motion of no confidence with a majority vote.
It was a bittersweet victory for ODM. They had won millions of votes, paid the price in blood, but would have to share power with those they accused of stealing their victory.
Najua kuna wengine watasema tio mbona Raila amefanya hii, amekubali hii, lakini Kenya ni muhimu zaidi kushinda Raila au mtu mwingine.
From the ashes of 2007-2008 violence, ODM would secure its greatest achievement, the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Na tunasema katiba ni sasa. Kama sio sasa, ni sasa hivi.
Basi semeni ndio. Sema ndio. Sema ndio. Sema katiba sasa. Sema katiba sasa.
Mambo haya ni mambo wa Kenya wameuliza kwa muda wa miaka 20. Kwa nini sasa wakati tumekaribia kupata hiyo katiba tuitupe?
Tunasema sauti moja. Na ni mzuri zaidi kwamba tukiwa sauti moja tutaweza kutimiza mambo haya. Hata wale bado kukubali ni ndugu zetu, si adui. Na kwa hivyo lazima tuwazungumzie, tuwaeleze wajiunge na kila mtu mwingine.
As a party of reform within the coalition government, ODM spearheaded the constitutional review process that had been a key demand in the 2005 referendum. On August 4th, 2010, 67% of Kenyans voted to approve a new constitution that would fundamentally alter Kenya's governance structure.
As the fanfare is being played.
Hii sio mwisho wala ni mwanzo. Kupata katiba mpya ni mwanzo. Sasa ndio kazi inaanza.
The document delivered on many ODM promises, including genuine devolution, a Bill of Rights, judicial reforms, and mechanisms to fight corruption and impunity. During the coalition government years, ODM delivered tangible results despite operating in a difficult political environment. Infrastructure projects expanded, the economy grew, and the foundations for devolution were laid. Raila's activism for democracy had contributed to two pivotal reforms in Kenya: the establishment of multi-party democracy in 1991 and the adoption of the new constitution in 2010. But electoral success remained elusive.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the official unveiling of the Code Manifesto.
In 2013, Raila and Kalonzo Musyoka ran under the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy Code, promising to continue implementing the new constitution.
But Uhuru Kenyatta, that is the man arriving there at the Brookhouse International School for this debate. And we are going to be looking at some of the issues.
They faced Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, two men who were at the time facing crimes against humanity charges at the International Criminal Court for their alleged roles in the 2007-2008 violence. The duo won with 50.07% of the vote. ODM's dream of forming the next government had slipped away again.
Mr. Kalonzo.
Their presidential petition challenging Uhuruto's win was unanimously dismissed. By 2017, ODM had learned from its defeats. Raila formed the National Super Alliance, NASA, a formidable coalition bringing together ODM, Wiper, Ford Kenya, Amani National Congress and other parties. With Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula as core principals, NASA presented a 6-point manifesto focusing on food security, progressive values, job creation, healthcare, and dealing with corruption cartels. On August 8, 2017, NASA lost to Jubilee by a narrow margin. But in a historic ruling on September 1, 2017, the Supreme Court nullified Uhuru Kenyatta's victory, citing irregularities. The first time in African history, a court had annulled a sitting president's re-election.
A declaration is hereby issued that the presidential election held on 8 August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law, rendering the declared results invalid, null, and void. Number 2, a declaration is hereby issued that the third respondent was not validly declared as the president-elect, and that the declaration is invalid, null, and void.
ODM had achieved a legal victory that resonated across the continent. However, Raila boycotted the rerun, claiming electoral reforms were insufficient.
Raila Amolo Odinga, in full realization of the high calling, assumed the office of the people's president.
On January 30th, 2018, in a dramatic gesture, he took an oath as the people's president, declaring himself the legitimate leader of millions who felt disenfranchised.
Wakiiba, wakitangaza, wakiapisha.
On March 9th, 2018, on the steps of Harambee House, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga shook hands in what would become one of the most consequential political moments in modern Kenyan history. The handshake, as it became known, ended months of political tensions and resistance that had followed the disputed 2017 election. From this reconciliation came the Building Bridges Initiative, a comprehensive proposal to amend the constitution and address historical injustices, ethnic divisions, corruption, and lack of inclusivity.
That you sign with, you go with it for the other person next to
ODM threw its full weight behind BBI, seeing it as a pathway to the systemic reforms the party had always championed. For 3 years, BBI dominated Kenya's political discourse.
Nikisema Harambee, semeni BBI. Harambee! Harambee!
The initiative proposed expanding executive positions, strengthening devolution, and creating mechanisms for equitable resource distribution. ODM mobilized across its strongholds, collecting signatures and conducting civic education. But on May 13th, 2021, the High Court dealt BBI a devastating blow, issuing an injunction and later declaring the entire process unconstitutional, null and void. The Court of Appeal and eventually the Supreme Court upheld the decision. BBI was dead, and with it, Raila and Uhuru's grand vision for constitutional reform crumbled. Undeterred, ODM regrouped. On December 9th, 2021, At the Kasarani Sports Complex, the same venue where multi-party politics was restored 30 years earlier, Raila launched the Azimio la Umoja movement to drive his 5th stab at the presidency. The 2022 election saw an unprecedented realignment. Uhuru Kenyatta, the son of Kenya's founding president, threw his full support behind Raila, his former rival. President William Ruto, betrayed by his boss, ran as the underdog.
Come to Murang'a County.
On August 15, 2022, Ruto was declared the winner by a narrow margin. Azimio, led by ODM, won majority seats in parliament but lost the presidency. It was Raila's 5th and final presidential defeat. In June 2024, Kenya's youth rose in unprecedented numbers, rejecting Ruto's finance bill and demanding accountability. At least 60 people died in the protests. Ruto's government teetered on the brink of collapse.
There were legal personnel.
Desperate for political stability, Ruto turned to his old adversary. On March 6, 2025, he signed a memorandum of understanding with Raila's ODM to form a broad-based government. 5 ODM members joined the cabinet.
Cabinet secretary with honor and dignity.
The party that had spent 2 decades in opposition was now in power, but at what cost?
Stood by me.
By October 2025, Raila Odinga was ailing, seeking treatment in India for diabetes, hypertension and chronic kidney disease.
And the policies.
On October 15th, during a routine morning walk, the 80-year-old collapsed. He was rushed to Devamatha Hospital in Kerala, where doctors declared him dead from cardiac arrest. His death triggering an outpouring of grief unprecedented in Kenyan history. At least 7 people died in stampedes and police confrontations during funeral events. On October 19, 2025, Raila was buried next to his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, at Kango Kajaramogi in Bondo, Siaya County. But the drama that unfolded after Raila's death was not unprecedented in ODM's turbulent history. The party has long been marked by internal power struggles that sometimes turned violent. In October 2014, then Executive Director Magerer Langat was forcibly ejected from a CORD parliamentary group meeting at Orange House by a group of irate MCAs and party supporters. While Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka watched in shock, the group roughed up Langat, deflated his car tires, and accused him of being a Jubilee mole. The incident, which saw party supporters act as enforcers, earning the moniker Men in Black, became a defining symbol of ODM's internal intolerance for dissent.
I am Samagina from...
Langat resigned from the party the following month.
You're still that ODM made you amongst...
We spoke to him weeks before Odinga died. These scenes of party officials being physically removed by groups of enforcers would become a recurring pattern in ODM's history, resurfacing in various forms during succession battles and ideological disputes.
Political parties, particularly popular political parties and movements like ODM, movements attract everybody. You know, ODM is not a party of class. It's not a party of, so-and-so and not so-and-so. And then ODM has been an opposition party, which means that you don't have government machinery to, restore peace at any given point. So, when a ruling party is having a meeting, for example, you will have GSU police, all manner of people doing law and order. When you have a party like ODM, carrying out a function, a movement, a popular movement like ODM carrying out a function, whether it's an ammunition or it's a, whatever function it is, in some instances, there could be violence. For example, the Kasarani Men in Black was just one ODM function in many, many, many functions successful that ODM has held, but it has stuck. Whenever we go, because we have been a movement that stands up for justice, we have been on the streets fighting for the very things that I see some people now talking about. The people who actually create the problem many times have been the law enforcement.
From its birth in the fires of the 2005 referendum to its role in Kenya's bloodiest post-election violence, through to delivering a transformative constitution and to 4 presidential defeats. From the handshake to the broad-based government, from violent internal purges to succession battles, ODM's story is Kenya's story. Turbulent, complex, and unfinished.
Our magnanimity as a party should not be taken for weakness, and should not be turned around to be used to mock us. Because when somebody says that you've never wanted to take power, that's mockery. Our magnanimity has been, in 2007, this country was burning. I mean, we would have lost the country. And therefore, what happened, happened. In 2013, we said, what has happened, we will go back to our role as opposition. In 2017, the election was in fact even nullified. But the country was polarized and divided and ungovernable. In 2022, we saw what happened. And you saw what followed. To show just the level of polarization of this country, you saw what followed in 2024. And I see many people have said, no, our party leader should have stuck to his guns. But the truth of the matter is, you'd rather have a bad government in a country than kill the country completely and have no government and no country.
It now faces its greatest test, proving that movements are bigger than individuals and that the party's legacies will outlive their creators. Ibrahim Karanja, NTV.